Hi everybody, Mike Beer here with Sunday's DRF Race of the Day. We're going to Los Alamitos. Race number 9 is for 2-year-old Calbreds. It's the King Glorious $100,000 purse. They're going to go a 2-turn mile. Most of these horses stretching out for this race. Let's take a look at the field right now. Full gate of 10 should be in there come post time. That's 2 also eligible is drawn on the outside as well. So keep an eye on scratches, but we should have a full field for this race. You can see that it's sort of interesting. They made the morning line favorite, number 6, Mr. Bold. Not that he, can't lay claim to the favorites role in here. He is 2 for 2 on the way into this race, but I sort of felt like the number 8, Good With People, who was in fact somewhat surprisingly the 3rd choice on the morning line in this race at 7-2. I sort of felt like he would be favored. This is a horse, Good With People, who just beat several of these same horses in his most recent start. He's a 2-time stakes winner. He's got speed. He's trained by Peter Miller. It just sort of feels like he's got the credentials to take a lot of money in this race. The morning line odds maker sees it otherwise and has him the 3rd choice. We'll see how it all plays out. Mr. Bold, certainly a contender, and what you have to like about Mr. Bold in here, aside from his undefeated record, is the fact that he's a little bit of a new face. He is not one of the 4 horses that Good With People just dispatched pretty easily in his most recent start over at Del Mar. That was going 7 furlongs. The 2nd choice on the morning line is Positivity, and I can sort of understand why he would be a shorter price on the morning line as well, if for no other reason that Positivity, even though he was only 2nd to to Good With People last time, he has beaten that horse in the past. And as opposed to some of the others in here, he has a running style which suggests that he can sit from off the pace a little bit, and that could play a major role in the outcome here as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, because that this could be one of the things that could really work against a horse like Good With People. Timeform US, as you can see, projecting a fast pace for this race. We will see how that all plays out. They have the number 10 Played Chicken out there on a short early lead ahead of Good With People. Listen, that wasn't the case in their most recent start. Played Chicken was one of the horses in that Golden State Juvenile at Del Mar. Listen, he got outrun to the lead by Good With People that day. He's putting blinkers on for this race. I suppose that could lead to him finding a little bit more pace this time, and he also has an outside post, so perhaps his rider will get aggressive with him. But it does sort of feel like something would have to change here if he's going to outrun Good With People to the early lead. How fast they wind up going, that remains to be seen. There is some speed down towards the inside. The 2 Wedding Groom, he looks like he's overmatched in here, but he's got some speed. Positivity, they have relatively close. I do expect him to be sitting somewhere off the pace in this race. The number 7 Ascot Storm also up there, relatively close. He's another horse who was in that Golden State Juvenile last time. Couldn't get up on the lead there with Good With People. He was close to it. He couldn't get up there, though, and he was wide, so maybe they'll be a little more aggressive with him. He did Wire Maidens in his career debut going 5.5, so he could show some speed in this race. But the pace of the race could work against the horse who I expect to be the favorite and the horse to be Good With People. And I really feel like if you're looking to take a shot against this horse, the big reason to do it could be the distance of this race, because he is going to stretch out to a mile here in around 2 turns for the first time. It doesn't have to get him beaten this race, to be sure, but it is a question for him. If you look at his most recent start, as a matter of fact, why don't we do that right now? Let's take a look at the replay of the Golden State Juvenile, because he beat 4 of these same horses. He did it while making his way to the early lead, never really faced a challenge up there around the turn, and you can see him on the stretch. He's on a clear lead all through the stretch. Now, Positivity is going to make a little bit of a run at him late. It's going to look close on paper. He'll get it to within a length or so by the time they get down to the wire, but to me this race was never really that close. Good With People never really looked like he was going to lose. I'll give Positivity credit for making a late run at that horse, but it's not like Positivity was compromised in any way. He was right up close to the pace up the backstretch, sitting 2nd to Good With People. He really couldn't keep up with that horse around the turn, and then he was trying to rally again late. Again, he might get a better trip this time, and that could make a difference, and certainly the added ground that they have to cover here could also make a distance, but I don't know if that necessarily has to be the case. If I was going to try to beat Good With People, I don't know that I would necessarily do it with a horse like Positivity or even Ascot Storm, who was 3rd and that Golden State Juvenile. We'll take a look at one of the other horses exiting that race in a little while, because I do think one of the horses that finished far back in that field, let's just say, didn't get the greatest ride in the world, and that could have made a difference. But let's look at the morning line favorite, because he does feel like the horse that perhaps has the best chance to beat Good With People in this race. Mr. Bold, 2 for 2 in his career, both pretty impressive wins for a very good trainer in Jeff Bondi. Listen, he debuted 5.5 for a $50,000 tag. I thought he ran well that day. He got bumped between horses at the start, but I liked the way that he was able to overcome that and he overcame that with a little bit of speed to keep up there on the outside, and he really finished well to win that race. The last, inside the 8th pole there, he really came with a nice run. He ran the leaders right over, was going away at the end to win it clear. He galloped out very well past the wire. He came back for his second start. Let's take a look at the replay of that race right now. This is a little bit different for him. It's the same distance, 5.5 furlongs, but he was back in last early. Mike Smith took over the riding this day, and he's going to be back aboard for this King Glorious. He did not rush this horse. He just let him sit last on the inside, started to edge to the outside around the turn while he began his run. He came 4 wide to the stretch, and once again, you can just see him, running by these leaders here, basically under a hand ride. Wins it by a length at the end. He was much the best that day. We'll see what happens here. He's stepping up. I respect the fact that he's run well. I respect the fact that he's got a 74 buyer in his pocket for that last race, which makes him really competitive in here. And I respect the fact that he's, sort of shown some real versatility in his races. He's got plenty of early speed, it seems like, but they don't have to use it. He seems like a very kind horse to ride. You can do whatever you want with him. I like all those things about him, and he's certainly a major player in here. But he's, like many of the others in here, he's stretching out, and he's stretching way out in distance, as opposed to, a horse like Good With People, who just won going 7 furlongs and only has to get an extra eighth of a mile here. This horse's 2 races have been at 5.5. Maybe he'll stretch out, and none of this will matter to him. But if he is going to be the favorite in here, I don't know. I don't know that he's necessarily the horse I would want to try to beat Good With People with. Not that I can't see him doing it. We'll see how the wagering all plays out come post time, though. Let's take a look at one of the other horses in here. I sort of alluded to coming out of that Golden State Juvenile. That's the number 3, the unfortunately named Taco Flavored Kisses. This horse, to me, is a little interesting in here. He's been defeated by Good With People twice. Both times they've run against each other. But I feel like I can make excuses for those races. In the I'm Smoking back in September at Del Mar, going 6 furlongs, that was a 4-horse field. In a 4-horse field like that, you're sort of playing Good With People's game there. He had all the speed in that race. Taco Flavored Kisses had the rail, tried to keep up with Good With People early, but he was never really going to be able to do that. Really couldn't make a race of it and settled for 3rd once he finally got off the inside in the stretch. I thought he was racing on pretty well. He was in the Golden State Juvenile last time. We just showed you the stretch run a little bit earlier. I would, maybe advise anyone to go back and take a look at the full race, the full replay of that race, which are available with your formulator PPs with the race of the day. I mean, I just don't really care for the ride. Mike Smith took over for that race. I'm not really sure what the plan was. But he took this horse back under a pretty good hold early in that race. Eventually got him wrangled all the way back to last, put him over behind horses. This horse was steadying into the far turn, clearly didn't want to be in the position that he was in. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and suggest he ran some kind of underrated or a really good race. He was no factor in there. He didn't really have much of a finish, but I just didn't like the ride that he got. So I just sort of feel like the 2 times that Good With People beat this horse never really, in either of those races, didn't have his best chance to really do anything. In between those 2 races, they took him up to Golden Gate, and I know that was a race over a synthetic track, and maybe that made a difference, but it was a 2-turn mile. This horse ran very well that day, I thought. Once again, he didn't break that great from the gate. He was off the pace, but he made an early move to get up into contention. He was 4 wide all the way around the second turn in there, contesting it. He took it over. I liked the way he carried his run for a long way to take that race over. As soon as he got into the front, the horse that finished second to him, I'm So Anna, took a big run at him, and he dug in and turned that horse away to prevail at the end. I thought all in all that was a good performance. I'm So Anna is a filly, so he was turning away a filly taken on boys that day, but it's not like she doesn't have any talent. She came out of that race to win a stakes race in her next start, so she's a pretty good horse. Taco Flavored Kisses, I think he did some good things in that race, because that run, he showed to me that he can get a distance of ground, and he didn't sort of luck into getting that win either. He did a lot of the hard work in there. He carried his run for a long way. So I feel like stretching out, perhaps, and you don't know about some of these other horses who haven't been this far, but I think it could maybe work more to his advantage than to anyone else's, especially if the pace is fast. He can sit off it and make one run. So that's where I'm going to go in the Sunday race of the day, the King Glorious. I'm going to take the 3 Taco Flavored Kisses on top. And listen, I don't have any real knocks on the 2 horses I expect to be favored. Mr. Bold is certainly an interesting new face. Good With People, to me, is the horse to beat. I'm going to try to beat him with the 3 Taco Flavored Kisses, though. And Sunday's DRF race of the day, it is race number 9 at Los Alamitos, the King Glorious for the 2-year-old Calbreds. Good luck.